All right, Islam, and welcome to Moorish Heritage and History School. This is Anaid. I learn with RVBey. Islam Rahs, are you there?
Oh yes, I am here. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you fine right now. Yes.
All right,
yes.
then. Yeah, I forgot to press the one. I think I'm good though. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I mean, I'm pleased. I'm somewhat saw my work.
Yeah.
And trying to stay on top of it. So I'm feeling good. I stayed up for 48 hours straight so that I can get it on the. Yep.
Well,
I stayed awake. I don't know how I did it. I stayed awake for 48 hours because I was determined to get as much as I can out.
It's called drive and determination. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
You know, drive and determination. Trying to keep. Huh?
It worked out. I haven't done. The last time I stayed up like almost for 48 hours was when I, got into reading metaphysics long before I found this information. I fell into metaphysics and physics and all sorts of otherworldly things. And I sometimes I would get into reading and I just didn't want to put the book down. And before you knew it, the sun was up and it was time to go to work.
Yeah. I tell you.
Yeah.
All this work.
Yeah.
And nobody knows. They always talking crap, aren't they? We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Want to talk about? Well, this is a candid conversation. All of this that is done, and you get people. Not that they're inappreciative, because they don't even deserve to be called inappreciative, because they're just so unconscious, trying to become conscious, but they are so low self and unconscious and indoctrinated. Like the main thing is, when we're talking about making our lawful notices, et cetera, as to who we are in terms of, our existence, our status, et cetera, our status being our relationship to the community, regardless to who's in the community, our relationship to it, with that or indifferent, our relationship to it. And then, people come in and they bring that dirty indoctrination with them, and their expectations or what they think is true law, what they think is government, what they think is, they bring that with them, and it's debilitating. It's debilitating to us as a nation of people to a degree, but you realize that shit, not everybody's gonna make it. That's all. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why I say I don't want to say they're unappreciative. I want to say they're just so many. Now, some will say, there's so many facets. Well, you got to understand that people don't know and they want to know. Well, the stuff for them to know is all around them. So piece it all together.
Right.
But if you're going to stand on the side of fear of what you think is authority, then you can't cross the line. You can't do. That's on you. That's
right.
If you can't do that, in other words, people will oftentimes. This is really important. I want people to hear this. People will oftentimes say, "Well, if we do that, you know what they're going to do? They're going to do this, and they're going to hit you upside the head, and then they're going to say contempt of court, and then they're going to say, I'm going to put you in jail, and they're going to do." All of those people who say that, all they did was identify the problem, and they don't even realize it. We already know that's why you got to do something different. What is the problem with recognizing that? I don't get it. It's like, I don't understand. All of the complaints they have, or the what is, or then they're going to do this. We all been there because we all had to come out of this. We all had to grow into this. We all had to have our exorcism and our baptism. Every last one of us, all of us included, me, you, everybody. Everyone must do it, right? So when they say that, all they're really doing is what? Identifying the problem. And and listen, the fact of they don't realize they're identifying, they're reinforcing it by identifying it, number one. But they're you can identify, but why you got to reinforce it too? Identify, that is the problem, let's work with changing it. But no, they want to identify it and then continue to reinforce it. Please explain to me, what is that?
Exactly, yeah, do that. And they do it, and you know what? I mean, I'm just going to say, I'm gonna, presume that they just don't realize that they're doing that. Like, it's, because I've heard this so often, but the reality of it is this, people will say, well, we've been traumatized, we've been traumatized, and so this is why we do these things. That's so correct. We have been traumatized. We've been mentally conditioned to behave in a manner that is not, conducive to our upliftment or our betterment. That is absolutely correct. But here's the thing. If you know that, why are you perpetuating it? Why are you perpetuating it? A lot of times people, they say that, and when you listen to them say that, it's like a crutch. Saying it, and it's like they're using it as a crutch. Oh, I've been mentally conditioned. And then it's like the unspoken portion of that is, that's why I can't fix my life. Oh, I've been mentally conditioned, and that's why, I do something in excess. Oh, I've been mentally conditioned, and that's why I don't talk right. Oh, I'm mentally, it's like a crutch. It's like, okay. The qualifying statement there is, that you've been mentally conditioned to behave in a certain manner. So why don't you work on reversing that instead of, constantly talking about it and enforcing it? And that's what's annoying to me, because I've heard that for years. Before I even got into this information, I remember I used to have conversations in this group of people, and their whole premise was, we're mentally conditioned. We've been slaves and we haven't recovered from that. Or, we've been mentally traumatized, and therefore, and we've been mentally traumatized, and we never had counseling to come out of that. So it's like, okay, so if you know all of this, why are you continuing it? And why do you think that you need to go to a modern European, who classifies himself as a psychiatrist in order to, work on yourself? That's what the whole Moorish science is about. It's about finding yourself. That's why we have astrology. That's why you have the birth chart. These things are there for us to fix ourselves, because trust and believe. There have been no accidents. If you came here under any type of mental enslavement and conditioning, you agreed to that. And you agreed to that because you already put in place all of the necessary tools you would need to overcome it. The challenge this lifetime is not to make it a crutch, but to find the tools that are already within you to overcome that. That's called spiritual growth. That's what spiritual growth is all about. But, it's like there's been just like a couple of more that put everybody on this pity, oh, woe is me type of bandwagon. And really, you know what? I remember when I was a young girl, my mother, when she used to go on vacation with, because my mom was a single mom, she worked really hard, and she would go places with some of her friends. Sometimes we went, sometimes she went by herself. Rightly so. She needed a break too. So I would stay with my aunt who had 7 children, and she had one of those houses where you come in the front door and there was this extremely long hallway, and on different sides of the hallway, on one side of the hallway you had like 2 doors, but the other side was just a long wall, and on that wall was bookshelves, and there were books that my older cousins read, and because I've always been a bookworm, and I was there for a week, and I was absolutely bored, I picked up the book and started reading. One of my cousins, and I don't know who it was, had an entire collection on books written by so-called slaves.
Okay.
And let me tell you, one of the things that I can tell you I've never found in any of those books were the people that took pity on their situation and how they arrived there.
Mm-hmm.
These were people that were incredibly strong. And it was like, yeah, I know I'm in this situation, but this is the plan I'm making. And I'm making it, and I'm working it. And you know what? They weren't focusing on, this is what the modern European is going to do. They were focused on, we've been injured, but we're moving on. We got plans, and we're going to put those plans in action. Now, I don't know what happened between then and now, to make the people so insecure and afraid to break out of that mental conditioning. And what's crazy, those people back then, they were being whipped, they were being hung, they were being maimed in all sorts of ways, and yet they managed to come from out under the mental slavery. But the people today are not suffering those types of things. Yes, they're suffering things, but they're not suffering those types of things, and yet the people today can't come from out underneath that mental enslavement. In fact, many of them, they shout it as though it's a badge of who in those books never did that. That didn't happen. These were people who wrote about their life, back before, I want to say, they had they were doing horse and buggy. There was no car. And this from the people who are supposed to be illiterate, can't read and write, writing their life story.
But what did you say? In a way, they were closer to what really was. They tasted freedom in a closer proximity, even if they had to discuss it with their parent and or their grandparent. It wasn't. It's like a pendulum that's swinging and in between, and they knew what freedom was. They knew they weren't born into this crap, at that time.
Yeah.
They knew that it had happened, and so they knew that it was something that had happened. And so I think that they were closer to holding on to that. Now you look at these generations, through the process and social engineering. The key word is social engineering. And that's really important.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And you know what? Maybe that's what it is, because you even see it in the movie, even though it was even though it was fictitious. The movie Roots. In that movie, every generation, what did they make sure to pass on? That they were not born into slavery. They were enslaved.
Right.
Because they were. Right. This was the message that was passed on from generation to generation, and that's why the story of Kunta A was never forgotten, because it was the link to the past. that the future generation would need to pull themselves up from out of the attempt at mental enslavement, and look what it brought us. A scholar by the name of Alex Haley.
Right.
You know, so the history and the proper history really is absolutely relevant, because if it wasn't for his ancestors passing on the, you know, his story as an Aboriginal indigenous being, it doesn't matter what part of the land he came from. Aboriginal, indigenous, and he was free. And his family never succumbed to the mental enslavement. And there are families today who don't know nothing about that type of slavery, never experienced it, all right? And they can tell you about that.
Right.
All right? My father, I had conversations with my father, all right? My father can tell you about his father, who owned several acres of land.
Exactly, same with mine, yes.
And they were merchants, and never was there slavery in my father's side of the family or my mother's side of the family. So everybody, look, and here's the thing. This is my thinking. If there's even one melanated Asiatic being that was never a slave, there has to be more. And how come you have some that were slaves or enslaved and some that weren't? What's the rationale? Where is the history? Where's the explanation for that? Is anybody doing the research on that? I mean, and when I say is anybody doing the research on that, there have been scholars who have done research on that. But for those people who have been mentally conditioned to believe that all of us came over on that one boat that everybody has a picture of, that one boat that everybody was supposedly came over to this landmass on, crammed like sardines. It's the only picture. There are no others. Everybody came over on that one boat, right? and we know that we were mentally conditioned, then maybe it's time we start deconditioning ourselves, because I don't understand what people think is supposed to happen. There's not one melanated person, and you can do this tomorrow. There's not one melanated person that you can ask, are you suffering under mental enslavement of some type? And they will say, yes, I am. All right. Well, then what are you doing about it?
Right.
What are you doing about it? What do you expect to be done about it? Are you looking for somebody to come and remove that from your brain, or because that's a gross misconception, or are you going to take time and work on yourself and remove it? Because every last one of us really and truly look at ourselves, and this is the problem I feel that we have. If we were to really and truly look at ourselves, we will find that everything that we do that is self-destructive to us is based in some form of mental enslavement. So, so if you're in a crappy relationship, it's probably based in some form of mental enslavement. And these relationships are consistently crappy. For example, if you can hardly breathe yet you're still smoking, that's mental enslavement.
Right.
That's mental enslavement. We have to cut the roots of that out of our brains. Nobody can do that for you. So all of this whining that people do about I need somebody to do, it is so not about anything. And I believe this is what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us. Everybody, we need to recognize that we are We are divine beings having a human. We're not these human flesh and blood beings. We're divine beings. So everything that we see that appears to be concrete is nothing more than what? A manifestation of the mind. That's chapter 1 of the Holy Quran, divinely prepared by Prophet Noble Jew Ali. So you know that these things that appear to be solid is nothing more than a manifestation of your mind. What else might be a manifestation of your mind? And if everything is being created based on that manifestation of the mind, you have the ability to change it if you just take control of your mind. So nobody can come and do this for you. Stop whining and work on self.
Right.
You know, I remember, you know, because I'm telling you, I'm deep in metaphysics. So, you know, reading the works of Prophet Noble Jew Ali, it was no surprise to me. But I remember I read a book some time ago, and it was about a guy. This is how strong the mind is. It was about a man. He was supposed to do some sort of a lecture. And inadvertently, I'm going to say, got drunk. He was too drunk, too much, and got drunk. Now, it would not have been a good look for him to do the lecture in that state. However, he had just enough light that pierced through the fog of drunkenness to grasp the remedy in order to turn this around and do what had to be done. You'll never guess what it was. The power of the mind. This man went and stood in front of the mirror, looked into his own eyes with his eyes, and he programmed himself that he was not drunk. And it could have been 5 to 15 minutes, but in that short period of time, he was able to change those atoms and electrons, which is nothing more than matter formed, which is his body, right? Mm-hmm. He was able to change that and go and do the lecture, and he was not drunk even after the lecture. So this wasn't even a temporary thing, because man is mind. Everything is in the mind of man. Everything that we experience because of what we allow to come into our mind. This is why the prophet and most prophets of the past always warned the people to beware of the charlatans, beware of the wolf in sheep clothing, because they're all out there. They benefit from your weakness, but you have the ability to make yourself strong. Nobody else. You. The question is, are you going to take the necessary time and effort, or are you going to be a slave to your lower self? Question, are you going to continue to be a slave to your lower self? Because, you know, life is an amazing thing. It really is, even though some of the things we look out and see, they look horrifying. But what is amazing about all of the horror we see around us is that we, each and every one of us, have the ability to instantaneously, just like this man who was going to do the lecture, we have the power to instantaneously change our world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the question is, do we have the strength and courage to do that? Because it takes strength and courage to ignore those urges and inklings to go and do something that subconsciously you know is not in your best interest. It takes courage and strength to not, lift up that fork and put it to your mouth when all of your sisters are saying, I got to have it, I got to have it. That's strength and courage. That's just, small. It takes strength and courage to step out. I hate to say faith, but it takes strength and courage to step out on so-called faith until you get enough knowing inside of you. Because you know what's beautiful about Prophet Noble Jew Ali? He left things so that we can step out on his strength until we can develop our own. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I know. I know. But people don't get it, and I'm gonna tell you something else. We tell people to study, but the truth is the study's already been done. So now we have to say read and comprehend. Because if the stuff is already there, and that's what we want to talk about too. If the stuff is already there and you still can't get it, that's because you're thinking something else. I don't know what it is that's wired in your mind. Let's talk about the example of that. This is important. The example of that is we have told people now and have found it to be true. Know that it is true, not because we dug it up, but because it is. If you read the law of the land, which is the Constitution, you find that it is. And we told them, listen, these meeting rooms aren't courts, right? They're all actors. They're all actors, and they've been doing it for so long. And yes, they have private security guards that are policemen, right, to protect their corporations, because they're all actors for some corporation, not for the government. They're not the government. People keep calling them the government. People will email me and say, my government name is, and I correct them right away. Like, what do you mean your government name, right? They're not even the government. But at any rate, I know what they mean, but in law and in this work here, it's specific. You have to have the right word. So now, as an example, we're telling them that they're corporations, that they're not really courts, that they are violating the law. By reading what the law is, you know that they are. So now we get some people who get some information, and they want to blame us because they got a little bit of information and ran off like a wildcat, right? Right. Because, see, their reason is not to effectuate that which is right and exact in law. Their reason for doing it is to prove something and to be tough and to be whatever, to take out on the so-called, what they call white man, the fact that they were enslaved or whatever like that. That's their reasoning for it. So therefore, it's all the wrong reason. So they run in, and now these same places that we say never was law, never was a court, never had lawful jurisdiction, doesn't have any judicial authority, and all of those things that they use against us to our liberties. Now they're starting to say that they have case law. Oh, yeah, let's talk about it. First of all, a state can't make case law. All they're saying, or these venues, these meeting rooms can't make case law. All they're recording is their experiences with you crazy Moors out there that are going in there with all the wrong words, the wrong information, the wrong demeanor, the wrong attitude, not talking in an intelligent tone, and they are making an opinion of what they would, to their favor, of what your actions are. Then they put it out and tell you it is case law. It is not case law. They can't even make case law. But if they can get all of the people to believe that it is, and they can scribe it as it is, really ain't scribing, it's actually perjury, then that's what they'll do. So of all the case laws that already exist, people, that are already there that supports our position, they don't want to touch those because they want to play with those who they can take advantage of and suck their blood, right? But they're going to make case laws out of some of the stupid stuff. And when we say stupid stuff, we mean stupid stuff that some of these people. Now, we did an analysis. We ain't come down on the sons, but 99.9. And when I say 99.9, I mean it. Are sons that have gone in there with some writs that are absolutely horrifying. Now people say, oh, well, they needed help. You should have helped them write the writ. We have already given examples of writs, number one. Number two, each person's situation is different, but the basis and foundation of law is what your strength is. You have to have strength in the foundation of law and the spirit of law with you so that whatever you write is written correctly. So so that is what may be lacking, because you can't just look at someone else's writ. I mean, they're all based in the fundamentals of what law is and what law is not. They are. They're all based in that. But you can't go in using someone else's, because what they did with you or said with you or whatever it is that happened to you has got to be slightly different from what happened to me or what happened to somebody else or what happened to you. Has to be. Just has to be. Absolutely. So you have to be able to articulate that in form, which is casting your own spell. Now, these are things that you just have to do. Wanting someone, you have to know it, and if you're going to get someone else to type it because maybe you can't type it, that's a whole different story than asking someone else to tell your story. Can't do it. So there you go, and I've said it before, there's a service, typing service, to type up what people want typed, if that's the case, and you're talking about jobs or whatever. But I'm just saying, you have to recognize that. So you have to cast your own spell about whatever occurred with you. So a lot of going in, they don't know jack. They don't know how to answer the next question. They don't know which direction to go after a curveball has been. That right now they're throwing all kinds of freaking curveballs in these meeting rooms that everybody is calling court. And they are laughing once again, but on a higher level. I mean, on a higher, well, not on a higher, but on a different level. You know what I mean? That's all they're doing. So now these people who go in there and write these stupid, these nonsensical, non-lawful, unlawfully based writs are having the nerve to say, well, we got a case law that says. You don't even know the difference between what a case law is and what a case law is not. This is a problem. So what do? Because we're certainly not going to fall. We're publications. We're going to tell what's up. We're going to publicize what's up. We just don't publicize or endorse things that are unlawful. That's it, and that's all. So, if it's a modern European that's writing something that's cool or lawful, we already know that from our perspective, we can't take that same perspective in terms of status at all. But in terms of law, yes. They have found dug up some great case law that applies to everyone. But our position is specific to the Aboriginal Indigenous, to the Moors. So with that being said, now there are some people out there waiting for you to give up. Blame somebody else. Blame RVBey. It's ridiculous, ain't it? Because if the writings and the things that we share does not find any favor with you, I trust it will find favor with the next generation, because if you take a look at our site, it says civics for the rising generation. No disrespect, but it's the same thing it's saying. Listen, the prophet said it himself. This is for the young and the yet unborn. The elders can come if they want to. And the only reason we can take that position is because we get that you can't necessarily put new wine in old skin, even though this ain't really new, but it's new to the person because they have been socially engineered and conditioned to believe some stuff that is the anchor that keeps them from moving forward. Now, come on. How can you know what the journey is if you anchored yourself and can't move from it, from your spot? It's impossible to do. So therefore, understanding that, that some are not going to make those moves. Some are going to feel it in their heart and their soul, but I guarantee you one thing. It's going to take you as long as, if not longer, it took for them to indoctrinate you in the schools, the public schools, from 8 years of grammar school, 4 years, 8 years of grammar school, 4 years of college, or just 8 years of grammar school and 4 more years of high school or whatever. and then college comes after that, because most people, some you don't even have to go to college to still be messed up when it comes to the knowledge base. So guaranteed that you will have to put the time in to get that stuff out. So this is what's happening now. Don't know what a case law is. Don't know what a case law is not. They're writing opinions. They know that you're going to fall. So you're saying, oh, well, I'm going to blame that on this person. Or they won't help me. People have helped everyone. You have to help. This is in ancient scriptures, by the way, as well, but it's real. Your table has already been prepared. You need to go to your table and eat off of that table, and stop trying to eat off of others and or get others to prepare a table when it has already been prepared before you even got here. It's Are you there?
Wow.
Well, I didn't like talking on my
mute. I had it on mute, and then I was going to take it off mute.
Hey, I hear you. But answer this for me. I want you to comment on the fact that they're making case laws that are not case laws. They're really opinions, but our people are so unversed that they don't even recognize. All they're doing is making opinions, calling them case laws, circulating them, publishing them, and making everybody think that they're real.
Exactly. There's opinions, and then there's actually case law. Now, the distinction here, how can you tell an opinion from a case law? If it is an opinion of, because see, people don't even realize that you're not even dealing with judges. You're dealing with administrative officers. All right, because the people are the supreme authority. All right.
Right.
Now, this means that being the supreme authority, you can come in there and violate somebody else's right and get away with it? No. All about honor. All right? People are supposed to be operating honorably, but there's no finance in honorable actions.
Right.
There's no finance. Look, what we're suffering through today, it is the concept is not new. It's called thieves and thievery. Now, the means through which they, act might be a little bit different, but the concept is the same. It's theft. And I just it to me. My saving grace is the prophecies and the statements of Noble Jew Ali. And because if it wasn't for those prophecies and statements, I'm telling you, looking out at the way our people operate, I would think that we're done too. I would. Mm-hmm. Because, everything is all around us, in front of us, to resolve any issue. Actually, it's not even outside of you. It's inside of you. Everything is inside of you. And when I first came into this information and started reading case law, well, actually, I have to tell you, my first study was the American Constitution, 1791. My foundation is strong. I am strong in law because the first thing that was given to me was the American Constitution. And I studied that for 2-3 years. That's it. Nothing else. Then trying to find answers. Huh?
I kind of think you're right. That should be the first thing so you can recognize when something's not law.
And that is exactly why because I started looking for because I was so hungry for information. I was so hungry to comprehend, this American Constitution that is this incredible document that at that time, that's what was being talked about extensively by modern Europeans.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what it was all about. And the way it was told to me is this Constitution is the answer to all your challenges. This is the supreme law of the land. This is the your state. I forget the words, but it was like this is your saving grace. This is what's going to get you out of any type of situation you find yourself in. And this is the foundation. This is the basis of everything. So I wanted to get an absolute grasp of it. I studied that thing for about 2 or 3 years. All right? And studying led me to various different books that explain the Constitution even better. And then I started running into these written excellent writings by modern Europeans. Excellent. But their position was incorrect because in addition to the Constitution, of course, I had the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and the whole concept of nationality and birthright. I got it. It's not something that's given to you. You're born with it. You get it from your mother. Nobody can give it to you. Nobody can take it away. I got that. So now when I started reading these modern Europeans and the positions, some of them had some excellent positions, but a key missing ingredient was nationality.
Yeah.
Excellent writings. Now, let me tell you something. Those writings, if your foundation wasn't strong in Constitution, would have tripped you up, as it is tripping up more today.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't find, let me tell you, my study of the American Constitution and everything associated with it and anything that it talks about it led me to the UCC. And I was interested in that. And I studied that for about a year. And I got exactly what it is and what it is not. I saw the huge mistake that many people was making because of lack of comprehension and possibly lack of study. Because, see, the people go, UCC, that is not a private, that's not a private principle. Studying it led me to find out that UCC is what is known around the world as the ancient Moorish merchant law.
Yep.
All right? So now, because even before I came into this information, always fascinated with the history of Great Britain and what they today refer to as the Middle East. I knew it as the Ottoman Empire, which is the Moorish Empire. The Ottoman Empire, the Constantine, the Byzantine era. All of that is Moorish history. I was studying Moorish history because before I even came into this information of Moorish history.
You didn't know it was Moorish history at the time.
I know. I had to go back and read some of the things I read, and there was the word Moor, Moorish Empire, all over the place. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. So, I studied the Ottoman Empire, the Caliph, the Sultan, the Byzantine, if you read about that, you knew all about merchant law because that's all that goes on. They had huge marketplaces where everything was sold, or let me was exchanged, even human beings. And I will say this is probably why this whole concept of us being enslaved is so foreign to me, because in those books that I read, there was the people that was being sold was modern Europeans.
Yeah.
The Europeans, and they had a great fascination with the blonde-haired, blue-eyed female. They brought a higher price. Isn't it interesting that the blonde-haired, blue-eyed female modern European still brings a higher price today? It was because their coloring was so odd and different. And I can tell you this, none of those modern European children ever took the throne. Nope. Not possible, because they might be claimed, but they can never sit on the throne. So these are history. The prophet says we have an illustrious history. We do, man. When you go back and you study the Ottoman Empire, which is the Moorish Empire, and that Ottoman Empire, that was taken down with the World War I, which, by the way, many modern Asiatic people fought in. Unbeknownst to them, they were fighting family. But no war that modern Europeans ever fought was won without Moors in it. They always need us to win. And that's history. That's not any speaking. That's history. That's documented. So now when we start, look, in order for you to be able to go into these municipal tribunals, and I wouldn't even suggest it, because they're municipal corporations. I mean, I have information. I mean, things that I'm going through right now brought so much of what I've been saying for years out. These people are municipal corporations. The whole premise, the whole reason that the American Constitution was written down was so that modern Europeans would have a guide, because we never needed it. We never needed the American Constitution, which is based on universal law. We didn't need that written down because that was inscribed on our hearts, and that is how we move. That's how we function. That's how we operated. And we need to go back to that. Now, the way you go back to that is with anything. You have to reprogram yourself. Nobody can reprogram you. And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people out there whining about, I need you to write me a writ. You know, I have written writs for people in the past. I don't do it anymore. Because my lesson in writing writs is that if people don't know how to stand on it, it's not going to help you.
Nope.
It's not going to help you at all. Because, and I have experienced this, I sent in banging, slamming, knockout, drag-out writs. And what happened? People got in there and was asked just one or two questions and negated the whole writ. As Moors are doing, pledging your allegiance back to your national, internet, your ancient family, right? And people will get on it. You have a conversation with people and they'll say, "Oh, I don't want to be a member of that organization anymore. I'm voiding my contract." The hell are you talking about? What are you saying? Are you rescinding your allegiance to the family? Is that what you're saying? I mean, that's your choice. Because that's all you can. People, people don't get this. They think it's a game. They think they're buying and selling stocks on the stock market. This is your blood. This is your lineal descent line. It doesn't begin nor does it end with you.
Yeah.
This is serious family business. This is not a commercial transaction. I don't care what Tom, Dick, and Harry, Sally, Jane, or Sue told you, and I don't care what they tell you, because just like when I got all of these wonderful documents, they're beautifully written by modern Europeans, you think I just took it and ran with it? No. I studied it, and I analyzed it, and I tore it apart. I can pull up these books right now, and I can show you how I underlined certain things. I highlighted certain things with my yellow lighter. I wrote notes with questions regarding a specific position that these people were presenting on the side, in the margin, all over the place. The thing looks like convoluted roadmap because I tore it apart. But Moors today are not doing that with the crap they're finding on the internet or from their homeboy or homegirl. They're not doing that. And so what's happening is these modern Europeans are using your lack of knowledge against the family.
Yep. And finding that many of them are driven
action against the family. Now when we go into the courtroom with a couple, not too long, 2-3 years ago, they had no case law to use against Moors. None. I went into the courtroom, the hearing room, on, I think, August, presumed to read a whole list of case laws against Moors. Now, these are not case laws. Let me rephrase that. Arguments. Arguments. Where'd they come from?
Arguments.
Where'd they come from? They weren't there before. Where'd they come from? And some of the names, some of the appellations they were reading, I recognized.
Me too. Yeah, I saw them. I was like, oh, shit, that's what they did with this information.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be saying, look, they just got a card, and they're in there writing a writ like that. You know, like, they haven't studied. So then people say, well, they shouldn't have a card. I'm like, wait a minute.
Studied. You can, and the decision that the argument that they're repeating in this situation was so convoluted that I had to interrupt.
Excuse me.
I had to interrupt and object and let her know none of that applies to me. I am not a corporation. These people went and incorporated all kind of stupid shit that the prophet bought. And now they're using that crap against us.
But I don't get it because we told them that it's not about corporations, so why would they go get information and then incorporate it? I don't understand that.
Why are they going and incorporating what the prophet brought? Because some jackass is out there saying, yeah, the prophet established a religious organization under the HARLEM statue. And stupid idiots are running behind that crap and promoting it to the point that they're using that in courts now to chop Moors down. Yeah, you're a corporation? That's what your leader guy established? Well, then we got jurisdiction over you. Because all of this stuff applies to corporations. Wonderful. We got jurisdiction.
Right.
Sad. Now we got to work even harder. Your foundation ain't based in Constitution. If you want to run up into these meeting rooms and talk about her statute, when the case law says that if you're talking statute, you're incompetent to receive judicial authority. But you want to say, oh, yeah, we established this under the statutes. We're corporations.
How can they even think to establish anything under a statute? That means they didn't study to understand what a statute is, and it's not law.
But here's the insult. The prophet is a brilliant divine being. The reason that he's called a prophet is because he had the vision to see way into the future. But these people are putting it out that the prophet is so dumb that he used a statute and then told us to stand on and enforce the Constitution.
Well,
really?
That's not so far-fetched from truth, what you're saying, because I just had to post up a letter to a Green Sheik Way L, or Wrong Way L is what I call him, and his cohort, Garrison, something, parentheses, RVBey, who clearly showed that they believe that administrative law from a division of motor vehicle, which is contracted to the state from the federal government in reference to transportation, which has nothing to do with people who travel, but only for those who do commerce. So let me say that again. Contracted a federal program for those who are, in fact, doing commerce, contracted out to allow the states to participate. The states then contracted it out and made an institution called the DMV. And then, of course, they always have their little policy enforcers enforcing their policies no matter what they erect on the land. And so, they actually were bunking supposedly our position of absolute law with the rules and regulations of an administrative policy specifically written for specific persons and those who were doing commerce, and thought that they were actually kicking law. It was, when I read it, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I said, this is what, now they call themselves the new Moors, and they need to sit their ass down, because the information that the prophet brought was for the new Moors, or for the young and yet unborn, because the information that the prophet did in the study of the subject matter of nationality was based in principles, and principles do not change. So it showed you that they have no faith, knowledge, or of anything in real information at all. That was embarrassing. It was almost the same. It's an embarrassment, really, but not to a bunch of guys, because these two were guys who are actually leading people. Now, even to this day, I still have people, what temple can I go to? I swear, I don't know what to tell you other than become an honorary member of a Canaan Temple. But aside from, which is still in North America, but aside from that, I can't tell you any, because it looks like they got to take a test, see if they can show they're self-approved, if Grand Chiefs are going to be putting out this kind of crap, and if they think that, the U.S.A. is the government and stuff, and not recognize what the American law is, and that this is, what the government really is. Really? So it's not so far-fetched. It's just a shame. It's a shame, because here comes the time for the temples as the institution to receive the people, and they're all infiltrated. They're prepared to put them back into slavery if they're not trying to naturalize them. They're, telling them that they believe that these opinions, which are not case law, are law. They believe that a state is their government when it's a quasi-national domicile at best. At the same time, they're claiming to be nationals. So it's not that far-fetched. So I don't think that any of our work is in vain. I'm not saying that because it's not really for those who don't study, because the prophet yourself said study. And, and so like you said, Anaid, yeah, they're making it hard, but we can't not go forward. It's really shaking the tree, you know what I mean, and bringing the cream to the crop, because if you are not on top and you don't really know have your game together, you're going to get eaten up by these vampires in these meeting rooms, because that's all they do. You are, as we said earlier, a stake on the plate. That's all you order to these people, and you come in there like, all not knowing they will eat you alive with fangs out. And at what point are people going to realize that that's what's happening when they walk into these meeting rooms? Like, aren't they looking around and seeing what's happening in there? My thing is, like you said, how do you get so pissed at these sons, at these people, whether they're sons or daughters now, but mostly the ones who are putting this, laying it down, are them. And then they're telling other people to do the same thing. I'm so upset with them that they, upset with the facts of it, the context of it, that they would actually start incorporating the word Moorish, for instance, or Moor, or anything that has to do with a national domicile. They're going to incorporate it into a quasi-national venue. I don't understand. It's just upsetting. It really is.
Yes, very upsetting, because when you look, I mean, to me, when I see that type of activity, and then I go back to, the talk of infiltration. Now, that's what it looks like to me, infiltration. Now, and a lot of people might be like, oh, well, she's saying I'm an infiltrator because I didn't know. Well, there's two types of infiltrators. There are infiltrators who know they are infiltrators, and then there are infiltrators who don't know they are infiltrators. Now, neither one is good, because the bottom line is both of them family, both of them. And the problem is that, they just can't do this on their own. No, they have to recruit other Moors to go down the same rabbit hole as they are going down. And, that's acceptable, in my opinion. If you want to push something or do something, then you ought to do it on your own. Don't be dragging other people with you. And, but here's the thing. The remedy for all of this is just the universe bring an issue to you that will let you know that, okay, time for you to take action. But I'll say this, sometimes the universe will bring action to you not because you have been studying its time, but because you put something into action that you were not ready for. I mean, so it's like, this is like a double-edged sword, and you have to be cognizant of that. Mother Nature is not forgiving, honey. She isn't. She's not. You are supposed to know, because we, masters of the universe. So if you're the masters of the universe and you are acting like you don't know, that's not a good thing at all. It's not a good thing. Because now that means that not only are you going to bring injury to yourself, you're going to bring injury to other people. That's not a good thing.
Right.
And nobody has the right to bring injury to anyone else, not even themselves, but especially no one else. And now some people might be like, well, you guys give information. Yes. We give information, and guess what? We back that up with the one mantra you can never say, we don't say all the time, and that is study, study, study. We give you information, and we say, look, don't take our word for it. Go and look it up. Don't take our word for it. Go and look it up. Research it. This is what we say. So we're not telling you to just blindly follow us. We're telling you to go and do the necessary research. And you know what? a lot of the research we have already done for you in terms of providing it, and it's right on the RVBey Publications website. We much of what we talk about, a lot of what we talk about is right in the congressional record. But the congressional record is not the easiest thing to navigate through. So what we do is when we find it, we don't recreate it. Some we do, but we back up what we may recreate with the actual pages of the congressional record. So you're still getting the necessary information you need so that you can read and know. We say, you ought to know the American Constitution. Well, guess what? The American Constitution is right on the RVBey publication, straight out of the congressional record. Creation from 1777, and the one no one talks about from 1643. Same thing with the Articles of Association and the letter to the people of Britain. All of these documents let you know who is who, what is what, and what the climate was. And if you read some of those documents, you will know exactly why the prophet said enforce the Constitution, so that you will not be molested by other citizens.
I love that. It's just because they're molesting you all day long. Yeah. I was going to say, you brought something to my mind. Like, for instance, when I first put up the website and I put, I'm specifically now talking about the Forgotten Scroll page, and I dressed it up and put it on there. And then people would say stupid shit like, well, that's not the real document. That just came off the website. Well, then why don't you punch in on Google the name of the document and go get the real one off the Congressional Freaking Records if that's what you want? Why don't you go and vet it? Why don't you, and I mean, we do have the real ones on there now, but I'm just saying some of them were not, right? So why don't you go and investigate, and you'll find the Articles of Association of 1774. You'll find the Treaty of Peace and Friendship in the Congressional Records. You'll find whatever it is we got on there, trust and believe, those documents are in the records of American history. And if you don't know whether you should trust it because we not redacted it, we retyped it in, dressed it up or whatever like that, then go search and find it so you know that it's real. That is for teaching people and teaching your class or whatever like that. We can address our stuff to teach at our universities, our schools, any way we wish to. They put that stuff in textbooks. Their stuff. Why can't we do the same thing? And here we've already laid out all the beautiful work for it, but at the same time, because I used to hear that. Well, that's from RVBey, and that's not really from the actual records. Well, why don't you go punch up and get the actual record then? Because we did. So now when I put something up, I put a PDF with the actual record. It's a damn shame, right? But I shouldn't, because maybe they should do some work and find it their damn self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's also they're trying to, I don't know what it is, but they're trying to rebuke what we do, like we're like make us wrong. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
It is. It is absolutely crazy, and I'll say this, because I'm just trying to really strongly bring this home into people's minds and consciousness, because we have to know that people have been mentally conditioned. We've been so mentally conditioned that we don't think we're mentally conditioned, if you can believe that, right? So what has to happen? What has to happen is people got to be real with themselves, all right? if everyone would just really pay attention to the fact that, look, the prophet said, come and take your place amongst the affairs of man. Well, what man is he talking about? What man is he talking about that needs to come and take his place?
Well, that depends on who they think they are. Some of them want to take their place. Right.
Well, here's the other portion to that. The other part of that is, okay, all right, if you're going to take your place amongst the affairs of man, he said, come and take your place. Sound like he is saying, call somebody to handle it for you.
No.
It doesn't sound like that. Yet, all the time, we get complaints of people who want us or somebody, because, we've done the studying, and you've done the studying, so why don't you go and represent us? No. Everybody has to be able to speak. Everybody. And the first place that you're going to learn how to speak is with your own affairs. You can't go here. You got these people running around talking about I'm trying to uplift fallen humanity. Well, did you start with yourself? All right? Because in conversing, let me tell you, a long time ago, I was told that I can always tell when people are reading. Studying and reading, they go together. Studying and watching a DVD, they might kind of go together only if you are jotting down key bits of information, which creates a book for yourself. I know because I did it. All right? Now, if you're not jotting down these key pieces of information, what are you going to go study? What are you going to now know? And how are you going to be able to help yourself? They have this saying, a little bit of information can be dangerous, and it is so terrible to say this, but with our family, it has been demonstrated that a little bit of information is, in fact, dangerous. It's dangerous to the entire family. A little bit of information is dangerous. A little bit of information void of study is dangerous to the entire family. You got people running around here, because I don't know, Rahs, if you mention this, but you got stupid. I don't like to say the word stupid, but I can't find another word to replace it. I'm going to say, I don't want to call people names, so I'm going to say you got people who lack information, put it that way, lack information in public venue making accusations. Yes. And it is so clear, so absolutely clear that they did not do the appropriate studying. Somebody could have. Did you mention this?
No, but you can mention it because I'm a little pissed off about it. But go ahead.
I'm going to talk about it because I'm going to talk about it. You know why? Because I know all about Dun and Bradstreet. Because I have been here for a minute. All right? I've been here for a minute. And I was here. I am a 60s child. All right? And so I can tell you back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, everybody who was exchanging any kind of merchandise wanted a Dun and Bradstreet number. They wasn't giving them out like toilet paper. You had to, today they're giving them out like toilet paper because Dun and Bradstreet don't mean what it used to mean. But back in the day, if you had a Dun and Bradstreet number, that meant anyone around the world who wanted to do business with you knew that you were an honorable and trustworthy merchant. That's
right.
what Dun & Bradstreet means. That's what it meant. That's what it means today. All right? I know because I worked for a major corporation that had a Dun & Bradstreet number. Went to great extremes to get it because if they got one, they were a shoo-in for any business opportunity, any merchant exchange opportunity, because back in my day, we did merchant exchange. We didn't do this crap they're doing today where you go and buy 50,000 of one thing and try to sell it. Back in my day, everybody was unique. There was never no two things that was the same. Never. Didn't fly.
Right.
So now I know what the Dun & Bradstreet means because I am a sick child. But this person is a young child of today and puts up why is RVBeypublications.com on Duns and Bradstreet. That would mean they are a 501(c)(3) or a church and under the Vatican. Really? Really?
That's untrue. That's not even true. They don't even know.
Verizon is a 501(c)(3). And by the way, it's not 501(c)(3), it's 501(c)(3). That's a statute code. Look it up. If that is true, then that means Chile is a religious organization. It's a 501(c)(3). That would mean that, what is it called? Apple, iPhone, all of that is a religious organization. Everybody and their mother got an iPhone or is trying to get one. Right?
Right.
People don't know jack and out there putting misinformation in a public venue, slanderous. If we were dirty Moors, we'd take you into a court and sue you. But that's not the proper venue for family members, but trust and believe. You just put something out there into the universe that's going to come back to you.
Most definitely. Because first of all,
right? Because that is universal law. Everybody thinks, I'm going to do something to this one and that one. I'm going to, I wish this on that one, that one. That's not principles of the universe, baby. Principles of the universe says this. The grave you dig for me shall be your own. Because you cannot affect another being. You can only affect yourself.
Yes.
So be careful what check you write.
No.
Because you're the one that's going to cash it. Nobody else. I am so sick of people talking about RVBey Publications.com being a corporation, or they got a 501(c)(3) or 501(c)(3), and they're a religious organization under the Vatican. Really? How can a Moorish establishment that's giving you information to free yourself be a part of the Vatican, which is here to enslave you? Give you all this historical information, case law after case law after case law, to free you, to assist you in freeing yourself. How can they possibly be a religious? We are a religious organization. You know what that religion is? Islam.
Yeah, but hold on.
Because, and let me just say this. You know why we are in a religious organization under Islam? We're not recorded as a corporation, not a religious corporation, but we are doing religious work. You know why? Because it falls under Islam, and that falls under the Moorish, divine, and national movement of the world. We are doing the work of the prophet.
Well, but going into all that, I just got to make a statement. First of all, and I know, see, here's the problem. I think we covered this like a couple years ago, but we covered it on a broadcast. So now I'm going to have to post it somewhere like on our MHH Facebook so that the next time that it comes up, my response in short, though, it's going to be very short, because I was so upset the first time it came out. We were all upset. We all wrote letters. We was like, what the heaven?
Yeah.
And, yes, and the people who were, they thought we were monetizing. See, now this goes to show you that our people are in a commercial mindset. They don't understand what's happening. So they thought we were monetizing the signatures on the proclamations that you see and everything. That just only goes to show you. And they also thought that we, RVBey, just period, this is what we're doing, that they are in the wrong frame of head. They are absolutely in commerce. Absolutely. They can't even fathom any de jure natural allodial stuff at all. That's all that they proved. And then to try to want to put it on us. But the first thing is we have never applied for a Dun & Bradstreet. And I don't know which is first. We are not, with that being said, we are not incorporated. RVBey Publication is not incorporated. In fact, we are unincorporated sole proprietor, which is really, my people, a lawful notice. It is not a commission. There's no numbers that are tied to it. There's no numbers that are assigned when you go that route. It's just a lawful notice of you doing business as such, all right? That's what it is. Now, what you need to do, and I'm going to add this definition on my post that will be on Facebook so that if this ever comes up again, you could just go to the Facebook post, or I hope those of you who are with us will gather it and send it to all those who's talking crap right now. It's disgusting. It's absolute invalid ridicule. So what happens is we're not incorporated at all. We never, ever applied for a Dun & Bradstreet, but somehow one got assigned to us. Now, really, that's kind of like, I don't know how that happened. We didn't even know nothing about it. So I don't know who did that, but it wasn't us. And now I'm starting to say, well, did they do it just to cause this confusion that we have here today? We looked at it, information that someone has gathered, which could be Dun & Bradstreet. They do it all the time. They make analysis, assumptions based on the fact that they say that we're fathers of miscellaneous publishing. And so then they go in and they gather and they look and they try to come up with what they think the finances yearly is. If I told you that what they have up there, we don't make that, you would say, oh, yeah, right, sure. But if I told you that what they have up there, we make more than that, you would take another direction. When really it's irrelevant information because it's not accurate, period. I don't care what they put up there. It's not accurate. There are never any income tax forms filed for them to gather that information from. So we don't know where the hell they're gathering it from. It's their own assessment. They do. Look, the IRS itself says that it's based on assessment anyway. So this is what they do. So whoever has done this, I'm assuming that they applied for a Dun & Bradstreet because we sure did not. Again, I think they did it on purpose to cause this confusion because it was new news to us. Care less whether there was a Dun & Bradstreet because they have no effectuation on what we do here. We're not looking to see. Now, the other part is I thought that maybe somebody was trying to sue us. But what they may have found out is that how are you going to sue a publishing company under a First Amendment? And what could we have possibly done to injure you? Nothing. Not a damn thing. And anything that you may have obtained from us, you agreed to obtain. So what the hell? You agree. So what? So this is some people trying to bring it down. But I want everyone to know we have never applied for that. We could care less whether we had that. And the other thing, and that being said, and even you can finish what you were saying because no one ever looked to even see what Dun & Bradstreet was. It's a freaking reporting agency. It's a credit and behavior status reporting agency. You know what I mean? That's all. It's a glorified credit reporting agency. That's really what it is. That's all that it is. At the same time, it was made that, well, if they're on Dun & Bradstreet, they must be a 501c. Well, that's a lie because we're on Dun& and Bradstreet. We didn't even have to be on there, and we're not a 501c. So let us be the example of how everything that they tell you is a lie because it's not true. But at the same time, being sensible about it, how is it possible that if you're on Dun & Bradstreet, you have to be a 501c or a corporation when Dun & Bradstreet doesn't determine whether or not you're either of those things? Either of those things. They just report stuff. Well, they report, like if you sue somebody, they'll say this company has a bad rating, they've been sued a lot, or something like that. And I think I'm saying it right, that they're just a glorified, credit reporting? Is that what they are? I mean, is that what they really are? Because I know in the day, like you said, it was like you was the bomb diggity stig star that you was listed on Dun & Bradstreet. Well, guess what, people? We're listed on it, and we're listed on it, and we didn't even apply to be listed on it. We assumed a few years ago that it was because the brothers and sisters in prison who we were sending books to, of which most of them receive our books. We assumed that they assigned that.
They did, because books are sent to Moors that are in the so-called federal prisons.
Yes.
And so what they did was they established the Dun & Bradstreet number because there's so many prisons on American soil, and the majority of them are holding either conscious or unconscious Moors. So we're sending information to many people in many different prisons on American soil who are being held hostage. And so, and because they all talk, they established this Dun & Bradstreet number. So now, and the way it goes is it's just like the Better Business Bureau. If they get a bad complaint, it's reported. Enough bad complaints, and just like with the United States of America, which is a corporation, enough bad complaints, and your Dun & Bradstreet number will drop. That's all it is.
Okay.
And if people recall, a couple of years ago, the Dun & Bradstreet number for the United States of America, which presumes to be putting out merchandise, dropped.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And that was world news. Everybody was talking about it.
Well, really dropped because they got bad business practices.
Yes, exactly. They're not able to pay their debt. Or they're buying stuff and they're not able to pay. So their Dun & Bradstreet rating number dropped.
So then am I right that somebody was trying to figure out how to try to harm us or sue us for something, but, they, for what, I don't know.
Well, no, not with Dun & Bradstreet. The only thing that they can do with a Dun & Bradstreet, as with the Better Business Bureau, or even like these so-called credit reporting agencies, yet everybody's a debtor, but there's a credit reporting agency, but everybody's a debtor, all right? That's all they can do is, and much of the information that they acquire is by perusing public information. It's not even factual.
No, I can tell you it's not factual. One of the reasons why I know it's not factual is because, like I said, we're unincorporated sole proprietorship. I know because I did it. Is that they say that we were established in 2011, and I know for a fact that's not true. That's like hell.
Well, here's the reason I can tell you. I can tell you for a fact that it's. I know because see, number one, I mean, I have information in a lot of different areas. I went to school. I have a background in accounting, and I have a background in business finance and business accounting. I worked for a corporation where, they had to file these corporate papers, and most people don't know this. Any corporation that you want to know about, all of their public finance is public information. It's recorded and published in it's oh gosh, I can't remember it's a S form, and it lays out all of their finances. These are things that corporations are mandated to file and report in the public, but a sole proprietor functioning as a merchant is not. But what they do, because everybody is a lot of these modern Europeans, a lot of these corporations, they're nothing more than criminals in disguise. And so they do a lot of shady business dealings that they attempt to hide. So, for example, a lot of these newspapers are a bunch of criminals reporting trash, funded, no less. All right? So what because they are a corporation, because they incorporate so that they can get this protection, and so they speak through corporation.
Right,
but see, corporation, and so you will never see their name out there. Like Sam Walton is the CEO of Walmart, but you will never see his name out there as doing business. You'll always see Walmart. So because he is a corporation, what they do is they will go and they will gather information from all these various different industries, and they tally all of the information up, and then they publish averages. So if you want to find out what,
but these people have published, from what I see, information regarding us that is not. Well, first of all, we're not a corporation, and secondly, the information that they got is incorrect, and they have no way of.
First of all, no. They do not have information. All of that is speculative. All of that is based on, okay, for example, they might say, as a publisher, and then they will lump that in with like your Newsweek, your Ebony, your Time magazine, your Time, your what do you call it, the New York, what's that, Wall Street Journal. They lump all of those numbers in, and then they come up with an average. And they will say, on average, a publisher makes this amount a year. On average, a reporter makes this amount a year. On average, a nurse makes this amount a year. And they do that, and see, if you've ever seen, because I have a background in accounting, I also have a little bit of knowledge in IRS. And see, what the IRS does is if you register as a corporation, all right, they're gonna presume that you have employees. You say for example, if you register as a corporation and you say you're a painter, they're going to say, on average, a painter has X amount of employees, and with X amount of employees, you should be bringing in X amount of income. And if you don't file a tax return, they will send you an estimated income tax return based on the average amount of finance a painter will make with employees. All of that is based on speculation. None of it is factual.
Okay, so that's what they've done. That's what they've done.
And the reason that they do this is, and if anybody has ever filled out an internal revenue form, or if you've never filled out one, or if you didn't even notice it, go and download one. On the bottom of the form, it says, what is your occupation? Do you think they're asking you that because they're not using it for statistical data?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are. And then all of this information, and see, a lot of people don't know about all of this stuff, but see, I also have a background in marketing because it was one of the classes I was required to take. In marketing, they have a book called the Blue Book, and they have a Blue Book, and the Blue Book tells you A in neighborhoods, this is the people, this is what they make on average. This is what the rent is on average. This is what they pay. This is what, on average, this is what they're paying for like a car note, for this, because everything is, that everybody gives up their private and confidential information as though they are a corporation when they should be keeping everything family information only. I can go to the Blue Book and I can look up any neighborhood on American soil and it will tell me what's the average income, what's the average rent, what's the average mortgage, what's the average gas bill, what's the average electric bill. What are they spending on average and what they're spending it on. And that book, every marketing company out there buys it.
Mhm.
And they will send you all sorts of advertising based on what's published every year in that book.
Right.
And so this information that they're, and this is what, this is why Prophet says study, study, study. Because if you don't study, you will put your foot in your mouth and it will come out the other end in an international venue, because Facebook is an international venue. Everybody's going to see how stupid you are. And the thing about it is, people might see that you're stupid, but they will not pull your coattail and let you know, hey, that's not right. That's misinformation. Take it down. You don't look good. That's not a good look for you.
Right. Wow. Right.
And this is why study is so imperative. Don't just run out there half-cocked. And then the other question you have to ask is, okay, so if you really found this information, all right, did you study it? Did you study what Dun & Bradstreet is? Did you study where they get their, because I did. Did you study where they get their information from? Did you study how they even assign the Dun & Bradstreet number? Or, better yet, did you contact RVBey Publications?
Hell no.
Because if you didn't do, at the very least, if you didn't contact RVBey Publications to ask the question, to me that sounds malicious. Why would you be malicious towards a family member who's trying to
add that? I think they do it purposely because we are who we are and we're providing all this information for the people. And there's other people who are against that because they, have other agendas or they want to put people back in slavery, et cetera, et cetera. And so they want to put us down, and this is this is how they're trying to find a way to do that. And then there's, they want to put us down. I think I disconnected.
Well, you know what?
Oh, I thought I disconnected. I'm so sorry. My phone went on swipe. They want to put us down so that they figured if they can cause this ruckus across Facebook and other social media, it would detract from. Now, check this out. Here we are with all this information, and if anybody checked out, they'll find it to be true. Why would anybody? And we are a publication company, my God. We're a publishing company. I mean, it's crazy. Why would under the First Amendment? Why would anybody want to put this down? Why? Oh my gosh.
This is just a prime example of what we as a people, as family, have to deal with. Because look at this. If people would take just 1/4 of the energy that they're taking to slander their brethren or sistren, if they would just take 1/4 of that energy, we'd all be free.
Yes, indeed.
We wouldn't even be having this conversation. We'd be leaning back, chilling,
down in the back,
free.
Yeah.
I remember. I think it was Steve Harvey, or maybe it was Richard Pryor. It might have been one of them. And they asked, it might have been Richard Pryor. And they asked him, when he first went over to the continent they call Africa today, they asked him, how did he feel? And he said, man, I felt at peace. And I don't know if it was Steve Harvey or Richard Pryor, but he said, man, I had peace like I ain't never had it in my life. And they was like, well, why is that? And he said because you know, he had so many people around him that he knew wasn't going to injure him, which is a novel idea. How about that? You know, but then, you know, he had to throw in the comedy portion of it. And he said because, you know, being melanated skin, if he heard the sirens of the police, he knew they weren't coming for him. But you know, that's the comedy side of it. But imagine how is it that the people of over on the landmass they call Africa come together, peace, and you have peace? Now remember, we're the same family, but the people on this landmass, who is family, when they get together, usually something jumps off. And we're supposed to have more advantage here than over in the landmass they identified or near the near the corporation Africa. They're supposed to have less, yet they give more love, and they will give more of the little that they have because they recognize us as family. Over here, we don't recognize each other as family. But yet we supposedly got more. You know what we got more of over here? I think this is the difference between the Moors and their African corporation as opposed to the Moorish here. I think this is the problem. See, the Moors over near the Africa corporation, they don't have the same distraction. So it's easier to recognize family. Over here, they have so many distractions, and honestly, a lot of them are perverted. I don't understand why people focus on perverted distractions. I mean, you know, even if it's not, I'm not saying that the people, I'm not saying Moors particularly are perverted, but everybody will pay attention to perversions on the TV that they broadcast rather than turn it off and not participate in it. Many diversions, there are many distractions to the point where we don't look at each other and recognize that we're family.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we're caught up, and you know what? There's the two biggest distractions going on over here is food and sex.
Did you say
two
sex?
Biggest distractions: food and sex.
Want some food after the sex and everything, right?
Yeah, and you turn on the TV, you know, and I me personally, I always thought it was odd because on the TV you got women that is so scantily clad, and it's like the extreme is like, I mean, they're so scantily clad you don't even need to guess what's going on underneath the little piece of cloth that's covering them. And then on the other side, you got the sons who got on so much clothes that they can take some stuff off and put on her and still be adequately covered.
No, and I don't even want to get into that. For the first time, I think it was yesterday, because we're setting up equipment, right? And there's this show, I forgot, I think it was Bad Girls, I don't know. And it came across, and I'm looking, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That type of entertainment is so harmful. So harmful. But I don't even want to say
Yes,
what they
it
were
is.
doing. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. I'm like, oh, this is sickening. This is really, really sickening. You know what? Mutez, he always taps in, and he just said too much entertainment is the problem. But prior to that, and we might want to make a comment on this. He was saying, I think I understand what he's saying when he mentions the freedom. Hold on, I got to go back. Okay, he says the freedom of information is power, based on what you were saying about checking out information.
Yeah.
I understand what he's saying. It's like we have the freedom to gain information, and that's where the power is. But the people will not do that.
Exactly. And here's the why. Here's why. Because most people have been mentally conditioned to not want to know. They don't. They don't want to study, especially sons. And I'm not beating up these sons because it's so clear the social engineering. It really is. Most sons, they don't like to pick up a book and read. That's why that is. I do, because that's not your energy. Your energy is get up and go. Do something. I understand it. The problem is that the do something that you used to do was based in merchant law, merchandising. You didn't have idle hands. If it was nothing more than whittling a stick, you did something. I mean, nobody whittles anything today. All of these things that we use to create that required no electricity, all right, didn't require anyone else being in our business, meaning like you could sit there and you can figure it out intuitively and effectuate it. And that's what got your inner creative juices just bubbling. And that's what gave many sons a sense of purpose. But they have socially engineered all of that away. And so now you've got many sons who they have nowhere to put this energy. So it turns in on them.
Yeah.
And see, well, we as a people, one of the things that I learned back in my Amway days, I learned that people receive information in different ways. Some people, and I hope I remember it, some people are auditory, some people are visual, some people auditory, visual, sense of smell, and touch. And I think there's a fifth one. There's 5 senses, right? What am I missing? Smell, sound, sight, touch, taste.
Mm-hmm.
But not so much taste, right?
Mm-hmm.
People receive information usually based on 4 of the 5. And one of the things that when we knew how to guide ourselves and our children, could look as they did things to determine, were they receiving it via auditory? Were they receiving it via vision? Were they receiving it via touch? What is the 4th one? Or what is it? Touch, sight, hearing. Touch, sight, hearing. I can't remember now. But one of those avenues is how we determine how they receive, how they best receive information. And if we wanted to get anything into that cranium, that is the vehicle it came through.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know that anymore. I'm sure probably some of the people listening probably never even knew this. But let me tell you, there was a marketing book that I read that broke it down, and I'm pretty sure I probably still have that book. It was amazing the way it broke it down. The book is used in marketing today.
Mhm.
Now, here's another thing. A lot of people, let me tell you, if you're watching TV, let me break it down to you real well, because it's not by accident, people, that you got a 45 to 60-inch TV hanging at a 45-degree angle on your wall with surround sound. It's not by accident that was made available to you. Because in science, you are looking up at a 45-degree angle, and the information is coming to you in color because our minds absorb in color. We don't absorb in black and white, and that's why the black and white TV is not here today. We don't manifest in black and white. We manifest and create in color. So the color TV came in, and then they learned that, and they tested this. After people leave the theater, they were the most animated. Why? Because the movie screen is at a 45-degree angle with surround sound.
Right. The science is applied. Yeah, I know.
So now people are programming themselves on a daily basis and their children. So how do you enhance that? You give them video games. 45 to 60-degree screen at a 45-degree angle with surround sound. What is it teaching you? How to kill and murder. And it's a game, but to the subconscious mind, that's real.
Right.
And what did they do? They made it affordable for everybody.
Yeah.
And where is it promoted? In the Asiatic community. And what is happening as a result of these wonderful, remember back in the day, they slow walked the people into it, because the first video games was what? What was those little round circles that used to eat each other?
Pac-Man, you talking Pac-Man?
Pac-Man, yes, Pac-Man. Try to get a child Pac-Man today.
Oh, no, it's antiquated.
They slow walked the people into it, and then now for the adults, I know y'all don't want the children messing with your 45 to 60-degree TV, so they gave you Xbox.
You're right.
and it never used to be a TV in the bedroom. The TV was in the den. And if you wanted to watch it, everybody gathered around together. Now everybody got a TV in the bedroom. You don't know what that child is in there on the Xbox doing. And now they have it so that you can communicate with other people. Now, how do you know these other people are children?
Yeah, I know.
How do you know they're other people and they have these things, what they call them?
It's their
avatars. Avatars, right? They have an avatar. Who's that? Well, what's your avatar? You don't even know if you're dealing with another child or an adult because they got an avatar.
Right.
I mean, we're so freaking gullible. Dang, we're so destructive all by ourselves.
It's about conditioning the next generation. The children.
Yes, it is. Now you got children, and let me tell you, one of the things that, and mothers and sons, we have got to do some reprogramming of these children. But actually, we got to reprogram ourselves, and we got to figure out a way, individually and collectively, to remove our children from these institutions they call schools. That's run by the municipal corporation. Because I know from my own experience, my children were excited about learning, excited about information, excited and wondrous, and well-behaved until they got into that institution they call school.
Yeah.
Been one battle after another. And let me tell you another reason why you must do something to get the children out. Because now they got their hands on the children in the school, in the so-called school, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got the children in this institution called a so-called school. And what they're doing is, and I tell you, I've experienced this. These children, what do we tell our children? Now, you go to school and you do whatever that teacher says to do, and do not misbehave, because we teach our children manners. And so when these children go into these institutions, the teachers will sit down with them and they will say, what's going on at home? Is your mother there all the time?
Did she smack you?
Your father? They will ask that child all manner of questions, because the goal is to get that child away from you, because they need to make sure that they break that child's mental conditioning so they can be a future revenue generator.
Hello. And then after they did that for a generation, then they said, okay, that was easy to get into the home. Now we're going to take the child away, and then we're going to imprison and charge the parents. And that's what they're doing now. It's just a step by step. That's why the prophet said this is for the young and the unborn, but yet we won't apply the information we have for them. But we'll allow these people to apply the information they have to our children. What's up with that?
Yes. And you know what? And you know what? And I'll say this, because, you know, I like I said, I used to go onto Facebook, and I happened to get into this what do you call it, the timeline, and I was reading people's comments, and I don't do that no more, because reading that stuff had me flying into a rage, because I couldn't believe some of the things that people were saying. I said, no, that to me, nobody should be on Facebook. That is an emotional roller coaster. I don't care if they replace it with something else, because the whole premise, in my opinion, of Facebook is to get you on an emotional roller coaster. And that's all I see on Facebook. I don't see nothing. I go in there, I post up, you know, the broadcast, you know, the class, you know, if we do a sister standing on law where we're you know, doing an informative, you know, analysis of something, that's all I do. That's all I just go up there and do from now, because that Facebook will have you flying into a rage. What does that do? And here's the other thing. How do you know that the people you're talking to is really Moors, industrious, studying?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know? You don't know. You got a picture. You can only assume that is who they say they are. You know? So to me, we have to, you know, when I first got into, I had to always reference my Amway days. They had a recommended reading list, and I think from that reading list, I found my way into the self-help metaphysical section of the bookstore, and I purchased this book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That book, let me tell you, if you think that things don't have vibration, sometimes I purchased that book and I could never get past chapter 1 without falling asleep. And I learned that book was written with a very high vibration. So sometimes if you start reading a book and you fall asleep, it's because you need to beef up your vibration so that you can stay awake to finish reading it, or the book's vibration being so high will put you to sleep. I couldn't read past the first, maybe into the second chapter. And so this Asiatic brother, Dennis Kimball, came out with Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. I know it's colored, but that's what it was. I didn't have this information back then. So I read this book, and I loved it so much that I bought the audio. I used to listen to the audio all the time, over and over and over again, because I learned that you can reprogram yourself if you listen to something over and over and over again. That's why you should put down this so-called music that's not, because it's programming you and not to your benefit. Download these audios and listen to them over and over and over again, because that's what's going to program you, your betterment. So anyways, I was listening to Dennis Kimball, A Black Choice, and he said, and this is serious, he said that most people spend more time deciding what they're going to wear as opposed to what they allow into the consciousness of their mind. I was like, man, man's business is about reflection. I started reflecting. I started reflecting. I read books on reincarnation. I found out that if you don't learn your lesson this time around, you're coming back to learn it again. And if this time around was extremely distasteful, you might not want to repeat it. So you better work real hard to learn the lesson that you're here to learn, and trust and believe. The lesson has nothing to do with anybody outside of yourself. It has 1,000% to do with you. And that's why the prophet said, look, I gave you enough to save a nation. Now sit your behind down and save yourself. That's what he said. And yet every time I talk to people that, I tried to give it to my brother or my cousin or my sister or my homeboy or my homegirl, and I'm walking down the street, I'm in the grocery store, and I have an obligation to give it away. No, you have an obligation to learn your lesson, because that's not a 30-day program, learning yourself. You're not going to learn yourself in 30 days. Trust and believe. We have the ability to do that, but chances are it's not going to happen. You know why? Because we got a minimum of 12 years of mental programming that's working against us. And on top of that, we still adding to the program with the TV and the so-called radio and the friends and the family that we hang around. So it's not going to happen in 30 days.
Right.
It's not.
It's
not going to happen in a year. This is a continuous. What you got to do is you got to first stop feeding yourself misinformation. That's going to take time, because you have habitual activity. You got stuff that you do on automatic pilot that you're not even aware of. Like, and let me tell you how deep it is. Nobody listening to this broadcast is consciously telling themselves, breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're not doing that. You're breathing in and out on automatic pilot. You're not even aware you're breathing. I know some people are not aware if they're breathing, even with the sound effects that they have rattling in the back of their throat or in their chest. They're still not aware that they're breathing. The vast majority of people don't even know what their breath sounds like. because you do it on automatic.
Right.
So there's things that you're doing that have been programmed into you that's working against you that you're not even aware of because it's done on automatic pilot.
Well, yeah, but if you go to school for that 12 years of programming, is definitely on automatic.
Absolutely. So the first thing you have to do is stop inputting negative information. Now, what that means is, for example, you need to turn off the radio, download one of these audios, burn it to CD, and put it in your car, CD, aux, whatever, Bluetooth your phone to because you got all these new gadgets just to make sure that you're mentally programmed. Bluetooth your phone to your car, Bluetooth thingamajiggy, and play audios from Blog Talk or any place that's giving you information to deprogram yourself. Play that all the time. This is what you're going to find yourself doing. You're going to get into your conveyance, and you're going to reach to turn on the radio, because that's the habit. You're going to reach to turn on the radio, and you're going to probably go through some radio channels to see what bopping sounds you can find that you like. And you may stop yourself and realize, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this anymore. I got to stop. Or you may be so well programmed that you're not even aware that you did what you said you're not going to do.
Yeah.
So stopping the input is the first step. Once you have succeeded in doing that, and remember, it takes 21 days to form a new habit. That means that if you were successful in not doing it for 10 days, but then you did it for one day, the clock resets. You got to start 21 all over again.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to take time, and it's going to take you being vigilant of your actions, your thoughts, and yourself. And see, that is what astrology and the Moorish science is all about. You don't even know what you're thinking right now.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm.
Because you have so many thoughts that flitter through your brain that you're not even aware of them. We have to do is stop the input and then start paying attention to what is coming to the surface. But remember, that's going to be a challenge, because chances are your homeboy or homegirl is going to call you to go out on a Friday or a Saturday night.
Well, yeah, it doesn't mean you can't go out, but it just means that you won't ever input into, like we said, that's the new word. That's the new slogan that Lutez said we're talking about, which is information is the power. Freedom of information is the power.
That was the lesson of Buddha. That was the lesson of Buddha. That was the lesson of Krishna. That was the lesson of Yahshua. All right? That was the lesson of John the Baptist. All of them had to go into hibernation for 40 days so that they can gain control and stop the input. It's that deep. Now, we are not able to go into hibernation, but what we can do, we know what we do consistently on a daily basis, and some of the things that we do, we can eliminate it because it's so not necessary. It's just filler, because many of us don't want to be by ourselves. We don't want to think. We don't want to be quiet. We don't want to embrace solitude because we've been mentally conditioned that solitude, quietness will drive us crazy.
It's the chatter. Check cost the
and that's
channel.
why most of the sons that go into these prisons, they put them in solitary confinement. Yes, it might be to separate you from other people so you don't indoctrinate them with Moorish information, but 9 times out of 10, it's more to drive you crazy because most people don't know how to be with themselves because they've been mentally conditioned to be with anyone, anywhere, but themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And guess what? It's 5 to 10.
It's what?
It's 5 minutes to 10.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing the information. I'm glad we were able to get some things in. But for those who are listening again, I think this is our new slogan. Let me see. What did he say? Let me say it right. Oh, freedom of information is power. You have the freedom to get any information that you want to get, and that's where the power is. Thanks for that, Mutaz. And also, Anaid, I'm going to post up, I don't know if you did, but I'm sorry, I apologize that you may have to go back into the Facebook and post something for us on behalf that I'm going to write on behalf of Moorish Heritage and History School and RVBey in association with RVBey Publications. Well, for RVBey Publications, of which Moorish Heritage and History School is the Facebook in association, so that I can say, look, and I can refer to that every time this comes up about, that the fact that RVBey Publications is incorporated and was incorporated in 2011, which is an absolute untruth. And then I will never deal with this again, except for to point people to that, and I trust that others will point them to the comment that we made about it that will be posted forevermore. Instead of just discussing it, we'll actually post something. So that's a great value. I don't even want to really post it on the site so much because I don't even want to put energy into that in that respect because it's just not true. But I would suggest to those who are following after it to do a little bit of research on their own, find out who and what Dun & Bradstreet really is, always was, and what it is and is not today. And that's number one. And then, I want you to come back and tell me how someone who didn't apply, well, you already explained it. It's the federal prisons that we send to that had to assign one in order to do business. So apparently they assigned one. However, the other information that is there, about us being incorporated, about us starting out in 2011, anybody that's even watching us, no, that's not. That's been following the site from the beginning. No, that's not true. Do some research on that, and also know that all of that is just they posted that, they made assessment, somebody made their report. It has nothing to do with us. We have never been involved with that. And isn't it funny how back in the day you were all proud to be, everybody wanted to aspire to be on Dun & Bradstreet, and we as Moorish could give a crap about it, and they're falling apart. Look, they're falling apart just like the banks are falling apart. Let me just say this. We had this conversation, Dave and I, today, because it was so funny, right? I was looking for one of those Western Union places, and I couldn't, where I was traveling a little bit today and taking care of something, and we were like, well, where's the closest Western Union? At any rate, I saw this building that I know in the town that I was in, that was a bank. Girl, the banks are so screwed up and hanging on a thread because of nobody is really opening up bank accounts for all kinds of reasons. They're falling so badly that, remember the whole scam here where they were making up false bank accounts for to launder money. They were using people's names, setting up accounts that you didn't have. But it was so funny because I saw this building and it says, what did it say? It said #1 check cash. And I said, that was a bank. Well, it's now a check cashing place. I said, dang, banks are going out of business and people are doing their own electronic banking. They don't need these banks. They don't need accounts. They don't need to write checks and stuff. And it was so interesting.
But, you know, that came about, you know, when they started doing the, what they call it, the debit card, the secure debit card, the rush card and all this other stuff. That started happening when they did that, because now you don't have to go to a bank, and anybody really, and you know, this might be something to research. I've been thinking about it myself, because most of these, it's like anybody can open, anybody can do, what they call it, money orders. If you notice today, a lot of places are doing money orders. And then when you look, and then I know a lot of people don't look at this, but these money orders, they're drawn off of a bank. It's like there's a gazillion banks all over the place. The rush cards, they're drawn off of banks. Now, I will say this, because I did discover this. All of these, there's so many banks, but guess what? They all come out of one central bank. All go back to it. And here's something that I see, because I like I said, you know, I'm a 60s child. I have my first check that I ever ordered. Still, I know. And I went, because see, checks had a lot of things had routing numbers. It's just for information purposes, not to do anything with. I was just curious. And Google is a wonderful thing. So I put in the routing number from the bank that's no longer in business, and it came up as now being owned by that routing number for that bank is owned by, I want to say, Bank of America. Now, what was interesting to me is, why would a bank that's no longer in business still have an active routing number?
Oh. Did they go out? Bank of America went out too, right? Or the one that you had, but the one that you're talking about there, because some of them did, but they're really all one anyway, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yep.
I got you.
Yep. It looks like many banks, but it's really just one major central bank.
Mhm.
It's just like they're franchises. Just like, you know, you got so many McDonald's, but and you know, it's so funny because no, let me use Dunkin' Donuts, because this I did ask. You know, I went to a Dunkin' Donuts and I bought a medium coffee, and it was like $3 and change. I went somewhere else and it was $2 and change. And I was like, well, how come I'm going to all these different Dunkin' Donuts and the prices are different? It used to be that all the prices had to be the same. That has changed. Now they can apply additional charges, not by much. Like, you can't go here and get a $2 coffee and then over there and get a $10 coffee for the same franchise. But they can increase it nonetheless. And so you're looking at, like, for example, a Dunkin' Donuts, and you're thinking it's one company, but it's got the franchise owners. And so all the franchises are different, and they have slightly different internal policies, but it's one hub.
Wow.
And that's what the banks are doing now.
I see.
Yeah, but they've been doing that. They've been doing this because, you know why? Because the people have been, I mean, you know, look, let me tell you something. People, do a little bit of research into marketing, all right? Because a lot of people, they do things because all of this stuff that's going on, it's pure mental programming based on marketing. For example, many people, and this was a marketing strategy. Many people buy white rice because they've been mentally conditioned to believe that white is clean, brown is dirty. Now, people are not thinking this consciously, but it has already been planted subconsciously. And so most people will buy white rice because it's clean, because it's white, as opposed to brown rice, which if you're going to eat rice, it should be brown rice.
Because rice is brown.
Right, exactly. Same thing with, like, milk. Most people don't know this. Milk is not white. Milk, mother's milk, is a yellowish, whitish color.
Kind of clear, almost transparent.
The same thing applies to cow's milk. But we've been mentally conditioned to believe that if it's not white, it's not clean.
Right. Crazy.
So we won't buy it.
Right.
All of this is mental conditioning. People, look, and you know what's funny, because I remember, and it wasn't too long ago, and I'm sure it's still going on today, all these people say, I don't want to be punked. You know, I don't want to be punked. And if they homeboy punks them, they got no problem fighting. But every corporation is punking people on a daily basis, and nobody does nothing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
For example, you got iPhone, iPod, the iPhone. Everybody's crazy. I want an iPhone. I want an iPhone. I want an iComputer. I want an iPad. I want an iThis, iThat. I'm going to get on the advanced order list to get the next, latest, greatest something. But according to these people that put up this false post, Apple has a Dun & Bradstreet number. All right? Are you posting crap about them? Why not? No. They're content to go after your family, but you're not researching Apple.
No. That's not even a great comparison because of the fact that they not.
I'm not saying that. Well, let me just say this.
No, because we're not. I know what you're saying. You're saying according to their misinformation of what makes it to Dun & Bradstreet, it's in error because yes. If that's the case, all of these other businesses have a 501c. I understand that, but we want to make it clear that the reason they're doing it is because we tell people not to get 501c. So somebody's trying to alter information and put out there that we have one because we're on Dun & Bradstreet. And that's the point. That first of all, everyone who has a 501c could be on Dun & Bradstreet if they had one, but it doesn't mean that whoever's on there has one is the point we're making. But we don't have one anyway. We're, like I said. But so yes. I know what you're saying. If they didn't even go and investigate what makes it to what Dun & Bradstreet really is, number one, and what really is a criteria for being on there, and it has nothing to do with the 501c or not, is what you're saying. And they don't even know that. They're saying, in order to be there, you got to be a 501c or a corporation, like that. And that's just not true either. Right. Okay.
Nope.
Right.
No, it's not. Now, and let me just, and I'll say this because people don't know because they didn't go and do the research. A 501c3 usually is classified as a non-profit organization. All right.
Exactly. Right.
Most of these so-called nonprofit organizations is a 501c3.
Right.
Now, but did you go and do the research? Did you poll the 501c3 and analyze it? Now, I can tell you I did because years ago I was told by a brother that he established his own Aboriginal law firm, and I was like, oh, that was great. That's fantastic. How'd you do that? He told me that he established a 501(c)(3) I think it's called. Who knew there was more? I mean, I never heard of a 501(c)(3) so of course I had to go and research it. Now before I even did that, I was like 501, well, 501, what is it? 501(c)(3), 501(d)(3). 501(d), I think it is.
Yeah, that's a new
and I was
thing.
like,
That's supposed to be different. Right.
Yeah, I was like, why? I said, first of all, you're Aboriginal Indigenous Moor. What made you think you had to go and register under anything associated with the United States of America?
Right. 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 And I've had people say that, okay, well, we shouldn't have a 501(c)(3), but, now they got a 501(c)(3), 5C4D. Should we get that? And I'm like, no, they missed the whole point,
I would say something, but like my sister Valerie said, I will not say because we have non-Moors listening, and this is things that you will find if you study. But I will not say it on this open ear where you have non-Moors listening, because now what they're going to do is they're going to create a block. Not necessarily a block, but if you ain't studying, there might as well be a block to counter whatever you come with under that particular piece of information, which is what they've been doing, which is,
which wouldn't really be a problem if the people who did it really took the time to understand what they're doing, rather than hearing someone say it and then running off to do it without knowing what they're doing. Yeah. I got you. So it's not that you're holding it back. It's just that.
No.
Right.
And this is our challenge. Sometimes we have Moors who talk too freely of strategy when it's like, okay, did you not get that we have what they call them, usurpers who want to continue to usurp?
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
And I'm not saying that all modern Europeans are evil and vindictive and out to get us. That's not what I'm saying, because the prophet said Europeans are helping us. Why aren't you? And he's so correct. A lot of times, my challenge, the pushback that I get, don't even come from modern Europeans. Sometimes, quite frankly, many of them are, they are so pleased to see that you are waking up. And even though they may not like you and can't stand you, if you come to the table strong with law, they have no other choice but to respect you.
And didn't the prophet say they are happy to see you come out of the darkness and into the marvelous light?
That's right. That's true. And my girlfriend told me that years ago, because I was in a situation where, back before I didn't know nothing, and a girlfriend of mine, it wasn't to me, it didn't seem like a major issue that I was willing to fight for, but I had a liberty of mine was violated, and my girlfriend was like, girl, you crazy. You need to sue, because if you don't sue, these people, they may not like you. And I learned that she was absolutely correct. She said they may not like you, but when you know what you're doing and you stand and you do not budge, they have no choice but to respect you. And she's right. But you better do your studying, and you better have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, because if they find a crack in your armor, you can best believe they will sink their fangs into it, and they will suck all the energy out of you. Yes, they will. Yes, they will, and rightly so, because you should not have stepped up to the battle with a butter knife.
God used to say that all the time. This is one thing for that sure that you're talking about now. Coming to the fight with a butter knife. Coming to be a surgeon with a butter knife, and that would really encapsulate what many Moors are doing, because they will not take and sharpen that damn knife or sharpen their sword with, with steady actually sharpen it. They won't do it, so they come in with a butter knife.
Yeah.
To a sword knife with a butter knife, and you know what? That's it. That's just how to explain it.
Yes, and I'm going to leave with this, and I'm going to strongly encourage people to read the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Circle 7, designed and prepared by Noble Jew Ali. I've been going through it and reading it, and let me tell you, it is absolutely amazing, amazing. And for all those Moors out there who's just so frustrated and angry and upset and just, having a temper tantrum because they have received a challenge that requires study, in this most wonderful book called the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Circle 7, divinely prepared by Noble Jew Ali, Prophet Noble Jew Ali, it says, I think I'm trying to find it. I didn't highlight it because I was busy reading it. But there's a passage in here, and rather than if I mess up, I know you're going to know it. A soldier never knows his strength unless challenged.
Oh, he never knows strength until he has a foe. There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without a foe, right. And as soon as I know what you get. No, I'm sorry. You get ready to say, and you already said as soon as they get a little challenge, they back off. And all this complaining stuff. Okay, go ahead. I know that's what you're saying.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. But see, the reason that life brings these challenges to you is to strengthen you. Because you cannot be strengthened unless you have some challenge. You're not gonna receive the strength and the knowledge and the know-how that you need if you don't have some challenge. This is about overcoming self. This is about becoming the fantastic you that you already are, but you think you're not.
Well,
That's
what about
all about?
Well, at the beginning of this broadcast, we had said, then you have those who say, well, they're going to do this and they're going to do this, and they don't, and they're going to do that or whatever. And some of them decide, look, forget it, I'm going to just leave it like it is, and they allow themselves to continue to be raped of their liberties, their blood sucked and everything, and that is their choice to do so. And I would say that once they, get violated one time too many or in a certain manner, I guess, then maybe they'll want to do something about it. But otherwise than that, all they're doing is reiterating what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
They're not right. That's all they're doing. They're just saying what the problem is. We already know what the problem is. Hey, that brings me to Cujo's thing. The problem is he started thinking like the colonists until Noble Drew Ali came and started dropping it.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And
I think the way it's without a foe, you never know your strength. Something like that. But it was a little word, little sentence, but most profound. But that's what it's all about. So when challenges come your way, know that it's to strengthen you.
Because a soldier never knows his foe. So we got to determine, are you a soldier or who are you? Right.
Yeah. So with that, we shall see you back here next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Same time, same bat channel, 9:30 Tuesday for MHHS Eyes Wide Open. And next Wednesday, we will, one of us, I don't know who it is, will be at the National Theater near Harlem at Northwest Amexem. Doors open at 6:30. Class begins at 7:30. We shall see you next week. Peace and love. And remember, study, study, study.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be.